Brian Palavai, Ron Farr here with Nikki Kimball before the 2014 Western States 100. How are you, Nikki?
I feel great, Brian.
You are back here yet again.
Yet again, number 9.
Number 9. So does that mean your main goal is to finish?
If I finish, I get in next year.
You've run here a lot. You probably have a pretty certain goal in mind.
You know, actually, the certain goal is to run this course the way I know how to run it.
Yep. So no time, no place goal, just...
Nope, I mean, if I run the best I can, then everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I can't control anyone else's race.
No. And you know enough that you know how to run this race really well by feel.
Yes.
You're not looking at split charts and...
Nope. Yeah.
And what does that Nikki Kimball race look like?
Looks like a pretty relaxed start. I mean, I think, you know, my race strategy is always the same.
Yeah.
I start out pretty slow and just move up through the pack from there. And that's, you know, I was looking back I actually did look back at some splits yesterday because I have new crew and they wanted to know where I was going to be. And I was just looking the last few years and it's, you know, like Duncan Canyon, I'm in 50th place and, you know, and go up from there.
Probably singing, hanging out with people.
Yeah, telling. It's such a bummer that Rory's not here. He can't sing songs about outhouses and that kind of stuff.
You could do it alone.
I could, but Rory's got a better voice.
Oh, I see. So you've won this race a couple times, 3 times.
3 times.
And then you had what you've described to yourself as a down period.
Yeah.
And came back from that to finish second last year.
Yeah.
Where does that put your goal for? I mean, like, do you think you can?
You know, I definitely want. I mean, I definitely want to be top 5. It's definitely possible to win it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the women's field is equally fast to last year, but slightly less deep. There's been a lot of injuries, it seems like. And you know, there are probably 10 women in the field who could really legitimately win it, plus, you know, 10 others who could, you know, if everything goes perfectly, win it. So, you know, so it's still a super exciting race.
You ran Marathon des Sables.
Yeah.
This good experience?
Really good experience. I went in there with low expectations. I just thought it was going to be a training run. And it was very different from what I thought it would be. I'm always in such a bad mood in March and April. It just seems it's just the worst time of the year for me. And so I went in it in pissy mood and didn't want to do it. And then it just exceeded all my expectations.
You ran really well. You won.
Yep.
Do you think
it was a come from behind win with that?
Do you think it really was a good training block as well at the same time?
It was a good training block, but it did. I underestimated the running. I overestimated how hard the running would be. It really wasn't that bad at all, or that difficult. But I underestimated the tax that the travel and that the lack of sleep would take on my body, and it really took me longer to recover. And it's just, you know, like, how do you know going into an event like that when you've never done, you know, a week in the desert and sleeping on, you know, not going super light on the advice of your partner, which was right. But
you can survive.
You can sleep without a sleeping pad. It's just not. You can't sleep very much.
No. What keeps bringing you back to this race?
Well, you know, it's I've done it. Once I'd done it like 7 or 8 times, I'm like, well, I got to get 10. I mean, that's part of it. And it's super competitive. I like that.
You do like that. So you do this competitive side, but you've been also going internationally a lot more. You've been traveling a lot more than you did even when you won Western States a couple times.
Yes.
What has brought that about? Is it opportunity? Is it your desire? What?
It's opportunity. Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't make enough money to travel really on my own a lot, or to be comfortable spending money that way. And so, you know, the Ultra Road Tour helped me with MDS. I definitely couldn't afford to do that on my own. And India, you know, I got that trip paid for. And so, you know, if somebody gives me that opportunity, I will absolutely do it.
What other that's over almost a 10-year span, even more than that, even at this high level. What other major changes have you seen in ultra running? There's the opportunities for the elites, but what else has changed?
Well, there's a lot more money coming into it. And, the races with real prize money. I mean, when I started ultra running, I was working 45 hours a week and, as a PT instead of, 25 to 30. And so that was a big difference. And just the depth of field. I mean, you always had runners who could compete very well in the current fields, but just a few of them. And now you have 20 of them in this country. It's that kind of thing. It's who are running at that level.
Yeah. What has you excited to keep racing ultras?
I think now it's different than it used to be. I mean, I used to be extremely competitive and faster than I am now. So it is hard. I mean, the hardest thing I've ever done was keep running when my times were just so much slower. And but that got me through a very, very low point, and I'm starting to come back again. And but I think it's that I love to run, and it's more about the running itself now than the competition. I mean, I know I can't run 50 milers the way I used to. 100 milers is more of a mental game. So, yes, I've lost some physically, but I've gained a lot mentally. So that's interesting. And then just trying to figure out what you can do with running. I mean, I'm much more into the fastest known time stuff and the things like MDS. And, I think it's good to wait for those things. I think, when one is at her peak, one should do the 50-mile stuff and the stuff where you can really, really use that speed. But you're not going to have that speed forever. I mean, that speed might last 10 years. And I'm in year 16, just entering my 16th.
So does that mean you have other adventures planned, like going around in your head?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot in my head, and it's just finding somebody, who's willing to sponsor that, those ideas. And it's more, the Arizona Trail has sort of been through my head, and lots of different fastest known times. I'd love to go back to Marathon des Sables. I think that was a fantastic race, and so hopefully I can get back there next year. And that's the kind of thing I want to do now. I want to do stuff that's really mentally challenging, not just physically challenging.
You're good at the mental part, aren't you?
I don't think I'm a talented runner. I just think I'm really, really stubborn.
We'll go out there and show people how stubborn you are on Saturday,
Thanks,
Nikki.
Brian.